All right, for those joining the recording, we just did our 1 to 5s, but we're now on to agenda item number 2. I was just announcing that we adjusted the cadence of this, and thanks everybody for keeping us efficient and removing meeting cadences we don't need. So this meeting will be every other Monday going forward. I had a ops section funding update. So this process is a little bit convoluted, and I'm happy to answer any questions for how that kind of process works. But we've been maintaining in the R&D function, so product and engineering, a single source of truth for hiring in the case that we performed well relative to our sales goals. We could open up additional hiring, and so on Wednesday, Sid and the R&D leaders went through and approved funding for, I think it ended up being like 1.5 million was the budget for new hires. And so it ended up being to item number 8 on that spreadsheet. And for the ops section, that included a set in pipeline authoring and 2 developers in runner. Hi, Anna, your question is spot on. It's my question too. The proposal didn't really differentiate, but I think of it as very important that we have front-end developers in runner, especially since we're trying to move. One of the specific things that we said we were funding in this investment was runner enterprise management, which I know has kind of been blocked because I think most of the team members there are backend engineers. So my expectation is that we are funding 1 front end and 1 backend, but I had to ask Elliot and Darren to clarify that for me. Sam, I don't know if you have had any insight from them on that.
I'm talking about it with Darby this week. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I knew we had them on the list, but honestly, I didn't realize they were going to be funded this week. So so it's great. That's a good surprise, and I think yeah, we're looking.
I'll say this explicitly in the ops section that I would like to know the result of whether we're hiring 1 backend and 1 front end, or I guess the alternative would be 2 backends, maybe it's 2 front ends, before we pull the trigger on that. So I'll let Darren and Elliot know that I'd like to review that decision before it's finalized.
Yeah, I think we should talk about it. Cool. You're leaving the single engineer group in APM.
Oh, sorry, my favorite one. I'd say that I didn't mean that sarcastically. Part of this, I'll just share with everyone the background. Part of this background is that I think Sid had said, hey, I feel like we're not funding our long-term, long investment priorities as well as we should. And other product leaders and business leaders said, hey, but I don't want to just open up funding for just those. There's other really critical positions that we need to fill and have been holding off on. And so there's kind of a mix of both. But one of the original impetus was this APM single engineer group that we are going to be funding. So I'm glad to see that one got funded. Questions about that? Okay.
I think it's exciting. It's a good testament to the progress we're making in that, we had to slow down hiring, obviously, but it's a good sign that we're picking that up again. And
yeah, the other thing that I guess also for mentioning progress, Tim Rizzi and the package team, kudos to them, put together a business case for increased package investment, and it materially moved the prioritization of that from what was in like the 30s to now I think it's number 3 after this next funding round. So great work on their part, and that is also a recognition of seeing increased usage in package. So, all right, Sam, you want to chat about number 4?
Yeah, I just was kind of pulling these together because it's the start of the quarter and thought I would share them in this meeting. So these are for the sub-department, the current OKRs for the group. I'll just go real quick, lightning round through them to provide a little bit of context. There's a focus on S1, like severity 1 and severity 2 bugs in continuous integration. Source code is another area we're looking at, but there's a place where this might not be surprising to the folks here, but there's kind of there's a backlog of bugs. That backlog of bugs has been growing for a year at least. Is now a couple hundred bugs deep, and it's kind of a challenge in terms of how do we address that. So that is one of the focuses. It's going to be mainly in the verified team, obviously. MR rate, we're not, I guess we're not focusing as like across the whole group on like driving MR rate in the same way maybe we were a year ago. Really what we're planning to do this time is look at the teams that have lower MR rates, really. Excuse me, sorry. So basically the ones in kind of the lower half, and say, because we have some teams that are, kind of doing as well as you maybe would expect with MR rate. Like they have a high MR rate. It doesn't seem like it's really healthy to try to get that higher. There's other ones that kind of lower in that distribution. And, we think that the reason why is there's points of friction, there's technical debt, there may be process things kind of standing in their way. We've seen some teams, for example, improve their MR rate and output by limiting the amount of things they're doing at once, limiting work in progress. So essentially, this is an effort to for those teams we've identified, for the managers to look at what are those process kind of friction concerns, and then how do we map a path to addressing those and a target around MR rate for those teams. So that's something we'll be driving. We've got a couple around architecture blueprints. It's kind of a good point of leverage, I think, for us in terms of how do we, particularly from the development side, push forward the thinking on how we achieve some of these bigger things. So ADO, like to deliver a blueprint for that. We've got an engineer who's been identified to work on that. Tong will be doing that. And that'll kind of dovetail, I think, with some of the work that's happening in product and design around kind of envisioning, where are we going? And then we'd like to follow that up with kind of a clear technical understanding of directionally what that is. And then kind of similar thing around tech debt reduction. So in CI, again, and Verify in general, there's kind of a fair amount of tech debt. It's highly used. It's critical functionality for a lot of people. So you expect to see that. And there's a set of blueprints that they're working on there around how would we make certain architectural changes to help us continue to scale that and potentially address some of the challenges there around tech debt and bugs, et cetera. And then the last one in the product area there is kind of a carry forward from this last quarter. At the end of this last quarter, we made a lot of progress on improving performance in user perceived performance in various endpoints that were slow. And I think that's important to user experience. And it just seemed like, we have momentum on that right now. I think there's some more work to do, like more work that we've identified there that would be meaningful. So thought it made sense to carry that one forward. Any questions on that before I move on to the team ones?
I have a couple of comments. One, the architecture one, you mentioned this was about scalability, and I think of there being like two primary, oh no, I'm gonna add as a, I don't want to add as a link.
I like copy and pasted it from GitLab. Yeah, the formatting is kind of weird. So.
Okay, I'll just type and then we can fix it later. I think of two primary scalability concerns. One is obviously scaling of number of pipelines and like just the scale of the product itself, especially for our SaaS service. The second one is scalability of ability to contribute. And is that how you think about those tech debt items? What I don't want it is for it to be a like, here's a thing that we could optimize when, product doesn't actually see that being a place that we're putting forward investment in or need to optimize. I'd rather optimize for those two things.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to break it down. I'd see it similarly. I might, as opposed to, I think it is about the ability to contribute. It's also the ability to, for the team to remain efficient and, be able to kind of manage their technology, keep driving that forward without getting bogged down. So I would put that, I guess, in the same category as the scalability of.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I didn't mean like not necessarily community contributors. I mean our team's ability to have forward acceleration of delivering.
And with that ability, they're better set up to support the community contributions too. So yeah, that's definitely the goal there. And I know Greg Gorsh has been doing some work on this already, and some of it I've got to dig deeper into really be able to speak to. But the thinking is that, there may be, kind of data scalability concerns, and we can look at those. But also, if we have literally hundreds of S2 bugs categorized that are not being addressed, if we have just a lot of work to do in terms of people want new functionality, they want fixes to old functionality. There's a lot of demands on the team like that. Looking at that problem architecturally too, may be a way to kind of find some shortcuts or some smart solution. Like if you can look at 200 bugs as 200 bugs that need to be worked one at a time, or you could look at it as maybe there's a pattern in there, and if we fix some, do some kind of larger effort around fixing that pattern, maybe that closes half the bugs. I mean, just as a so.
Cool. I like that. And I was not thinking in that way, so I appreciate that connection. That really does. I agree that we have a number of S1 bugs, and I have been thinking about them. It's just like we got to work them, but it makes sense that there might be there's probably some architectural thing underneath there.
Yeah, it's also, I think, a way for us to leverage the staff engineers in the group more. And one of the goals for this year, I wrote like a vision, which I guess I should share in here. I don't know if it's linked, but one of the goals for the department this year is to really flesh out the senior technical leadership in the group. We have 5 stages. We have today 3 staff engineers who are all fantastic, but there's definitely opportunity, I think, for us to, 1, kind of mentor more people into that type of role, and then 2, for those people to have act as a point of leverage in terms of being able to really identify some of these bigger opportunities and smart solutions to broader problems.
Cool. My other comment would just be, I think I've added this, it must have been to a different issue on the large contentful paint performance, that I do think that there are probably, I'll just pick on monitor. I don't think we need to have this focus in monitor, even though they might have ones that have slow. It's like something you taught me once, Sam. In monitoring tools, you multiply like time it takes to do it versus how many times users interact with it. And that's the real metric we should be looking at. So I just want to make sure we're prioritizing and not asking, I guess we're not asking teams to prioritize ones where there's low usage, even though there might be low responsiveness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the goal here is to identify ones that are highly used, slow. It's not that hard, fortunately or unfortunately, to identify some of those. And we've made a lot of progress on a number of them. But yeah, it's not about everybody has to do this. It's about, it's a pretty meaningful thing for perceived performance, user experience. If you're waiting 18 seconds for your, package registry list to load, that sucks. And I know this quarter, where did I put an update here. This was in the OKR from this last quarter that I was just kind of gathering information about. But yeah, they did. And yeah, in package, there was some huge improvement that wasn't even captured by this metric. Verify, there was a similar thing. They had a endpoint that was 18 seconds to load on average. Yeah, pretty slow, right? And then now it's 2.5 seconds, which is the target. That's like green and is 2.5 and below. So, there's kind of a set of those. And I think there's another set we've identified. So it's really, those high priority ones.
Cool. Otherwise, it makes sense. And obviously, product and design team members will be big participants in the MR rate for those target groups. So
totally, yeah. There's some good stuff like the verify kickoff, I think, is a great example of product and development working together. And I'd expect, that probably will have an impact on MR rate. Cool. I didn't capture it in the OKRs. In terms of the team stuff, I've got a placeholder there in terms of culture amp actions. So I didn't want to, there are ways I could have written, I guess, an action at this point, but I felt like it made more sense to spend some time developing that instead of just trying to crank something out immediately. The other one I put in there is that, we're doing work to share those results with everybody. So, every team in the group is going to have a meeting to discuss their team level results. And then I think there's a set of follow-ups that we'll want to do throughout the quarter to kind of engage with those. I haven't planned out the full timeline yet, but.
Cool. Sam, you and I talked in our one-on-one about the results from the development department. I think it's really important that we as cross-functional leaders, maybe there's a way we could kind of share the functional groups engagement survey results and talk about how we can help each other out. Sam, you saw me open a couple of issues for how product can help improve the development department's ones, but it would be great if we could do that kind of like, it would be great. And I can, Juliana, is Juliana your people ops person, Hayana?
She is. Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
I don't know if design has the same one as development.
Who's that, Juliana?
Yeah.
I don't think I met her.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
Okay. Juliana helped me accidentally run a report, Sam, that included some of your team members. So I think we could probably run a report that was like whether all engineering or product team members who are in the ops section, and then we could have an engagement result for all of us and talk about things we could do to improve. Ayana, are you able to get there might not be enough, your team members engagement survey report?
I don't think we are sharing like the results for team members, right, Laurie? We just got like a per department. Yeah.
It's because we don't have enough. We if we only have 5 or less, they're not giving out the individual ones.
Yeah.
So I looked at the UX department's one. So I think that's what everybody's sharing.
Maybe I can look at, because I think you can run the report if there's more than 5, and we could run the ops section designers. That would be more than 5. It spans Hayana, yours, and some of Justin's, but that maybe we could ask Valerie for that and bring it into this discussion. I'll work with Valerie on it. I think one of the things that I just immediately realized when looking at Sam's results is that there's ways we can help each other get our teams, help our teams feel fulfilled in those metrics. So I think if we got those reports, brought them into this discussion and reviewed them, we could come up with some things we can do to help cross-functionally.
Yeah, I'm sure that Valerie can help you giving like the overview of the UX department, UX engagement results. I got that information from Valerie, but I added here the UX department insights, so you can see the questions and everything.
And so this is tech writing, product design, and UX research. Okay.
And managers and design managers as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think what I would love is to figure out for just our section for all 3 groups and quality too. But
I think it would be straightforward for Juliana or whoever to run a report that just included all of the groups that contribute to the ops section. So you could do a, ops sub department, ops product managers, ops designers, and I think just combine that into one group. Then we'd have one report we could look at that, represents the full group. It wouldn't have all the nuance of the more focused reports, but I think that could be a good place to start.
Cool. Yeah, I just like the idea of kind of slicing and dicing.
Really, I mean, Kenny and I, we looked at our, reports, and it's like all the product managers feel like there's a great, like mission and vision, like high marks there. Developers, it's less so, and so there's those types of interactions where, one group may, kind of be less sensitive to one type of thing as another, or, be dependent on another, folks in another department to be providing something. And so I think there's probably lots and lots of examples, where we can get a better context by kind of looking at that, like what are the designers complaining about that we're not as conscious of in development, for example, and how do we then, serve that need better.
Yeah. Cool. I guess last broad product update I'll provide. I'll see if I can find a link to it. Last week it was announced that there's some changes in the product leadership org structure, and David DeSanto is going to take over the former dev section product management in an interim basis, product management leadership in an interim basis. This is after, for those of you who don't know, Eric Brinkman, his last day was Friday as the dev section leader, and then his 2 group managers, Jeremy and James, are both leaving. I think this Friday is their last days. So the product org is trying to figure out how to restructure, and as an immediate thing, David is going to be managing those teams. I'll likely be helping out, not in direct management, but with hiring and just kind of providing coverage and support for product team members while we fill out that org structure. I'll share with you transparently, one of the things that this does give us an opportunity to do as a product leadership team is kind of promote from within to have other group managers who who are senior or principal product managers today take on management roles. So we are excited about that opportunity. Any questions about that? I think it was in Anoop announced it in Slack, so I can find you the Slack link for it. Okay, no other questions. I will upload this video as soon as we get done. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good one.